This is the Movie Reel. We bring you a rotating panel of movie enthusiasts for some good, some bad, but always fun movie discussions. Be warned, spoilers are in effect. So grab your favorite movie snacks and sit back while we cue up the cast. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Movie Reel. We are going to be back now today with the final Austin Powers movie, Austin Powers Goldmember. Okay, so the final in the trilogy. We'll talk more to see what we think about a fourth movie and potential there as well, because there's some scuttlebutt about that. So it's kind of a fun reason to do this at the same time. They're just really fun movies. Let's just be serious here. If you don't have fun watching these, why watch them, right? And on this episode with me today, back again to finish the trilogy, my lovely wife, Yay. Heather.
Hey.
She's back. I've suckered her in again. I'm really good at schmoozing, so I can do this. I can do this all day long. It's good stuff. So we are going to discuss the final one in the trilogy. A couple of fun things about it. This was a big movie for Beyonce. Was the bigger thing. She made like $6 million to do this movie, and then she ended up doing what was the Dreamgirls. She did Dreamgirls, and she doubled her money from one movie to the next. So I think she showed her acting chops in this movie. So that was just kind of a fun one. I just found and wanted to say something about here before we get into the synopsis of it. And I'll read the synopsis and we'll get on to it. So your sexy spy is back for a third time for another shagadelic romp with help from a new partner, Foxy Cleopatra from the 70s. Austin must stop Dr. Evil and his Dutch counterpart, Goldmember, from pulling a golden meteor from space into a collision course with Earth. So that is the gist of what we have going on in the movie here. Mike Myers plays 4 roles in this one, which I actually forgot that he comes back as Fat Bastard in this one, and he plays Goldmember. So he technically does 4 roles. We talked about that in the last episode for The Spy That Shagged Me, that he played 3. So they stretched his money pretty far to play 4 characters, right?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to play 4 characters in one movie.
It reminds me of Nutty Professor with Eddie Murphy. That table scene where he played like everybody at that table scene.
I forgot about that movie.
That's a good movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really made me think of that. He played everybody but the little kid at that table scene, which is crazy. I think there were 6. There was at least 5 because there was the parents, there was 2 boys, and then the grandma. So I think he played 5 at that table.
Well, if there's the 2 boys, the parents, there'd actually be 6 because, the Nutty Professor was also at the table.
No, he was one of the boys, though. I don't remember. It was just him and a brother.
Oh, so, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. So he played 5 people sitting at one table. That was kind of like groundbreaking at the time that they made that scene work. Well, that scene's hilarious, by the way. That's a good movie.
Hilarious, by the way.
That's a good movie. Go watch that one sometime.
Yeah, we need to watch that one.
But yeah, 4 roles. Real quick, what out of the 4 roles were at the end of the trilogy? We can talk about all of them so far. And what of those 4 roles is his best, Mike Myers' best character out of the 4?
Oh, Dr. Evil, hands down.
Yeah, I have to agree. I can't disagree.
He just plays that character so well. And yeah, he just steals the show in all of the movies. Like the first movie, not so much, but the last 2, like when they really seem to find their groove with the movie, Dr. Evil is the star. Yeah,
he's fantastic. He's still holding on true. They brought him back for a Super Bowl commercial here recently, which is a little bit what we'll talk about, why we think maybe there'll be a 4th one and what we want from that. This movie made good money. It was the most, profitable of the 3, a budget of $63 million. And it made in the box office, it made $335,999 million. So it might as well be 336 million, right? You can round it up 200 grand.
You might as well. What's the difference?
We're rounding billions these days. Why not round a couple 100,000?
Exactly.
So yeah, opening weekend, it made all of its money back in one weekend. It made $73 million. It actually made $10 million over its budget in the first weekend. And I thought that was kind of neat that it just jumped off really, really fast. This movie made more money in its first weekend than the first movie made its whole time in theaters. So that really shows, how much these movies grew, right?
Yeah. How much they grew in popularity, and they became a lot more relevant. Like the jokes and the puns were much more relevant in the second and third movie than the first movie.
And it poked fun at itself. So if you'd seen the other movies, it really helped just keep the laughs going. Because, with the Scotty don't and, the shushing and the whip it and zip it. Yes, exactly. Not whip it. That was one of the jokes, though. So, yeah, I was like, that's pretty good money. That goes to show why it made like over $500 million total for the trilogy. This movie here was a good chunk of that, like majority of it.
Oh, yeah.
Which was kind of cool. Star-studded cast in this movie, guys.
Yeah.
It starts off, it really kind of fooled our daughter from the beginning. She didn't think it was the right movie because we have, Tom Cruise playing Austin and Gwyneth Paltrow. She plays the love interest in that. Kevin Spacey. He plays Dr. Evil. Danny DeVito plays Mini-Me.
Which is the best.
Which is great. Yes. So, yeah, because the movie starts off with like them making a movie of Austin Powers, his life. And it's directed by Steven Spielberg, and they got all these big stars in it. And it was really great. It just really, really showed the satire to Bond that we've been talking about on all these podcasts here so far. This one screamed it because the music was a little bit different, right? It sounded better. It sounded more Bond-like throughout the movie, even just kind of the ambiance music that would be playing. I was just really happy with this movie overall. This would probably be my favorite of all of them, watching them all.
Yeah.
As a movie as a whole. I love to watch the trilogy. If I can watch them all together, I want to. But if I separated it out, just one movie, I would have to say Goldmember would be my favorite. What do you think?
I would agree. That one is my favorite as well.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Beyonce, she's sexy as hell. She knows how to work it. She can sing, and she uses like all of those things in this movie. And the music, like especially that Solid Gold, song she sings, with the roller disco going on and stuff like that was really cool in the 70s to see her up there just kind of shaking it in her gold outfit. She's the spy in this movie, so she's the backup to Austin Powers. She's Foxy Cleopatra, as she says. And she's great. I mean, I think she did a really, really good job for something that was like really early in her career of acting and stuff like that. We got to talk. Go ahead.
Her first movie?
I think so.
Because I don't remember her being in anything before this, but I could be wrong. But I feel like this was like her first. It obviously was her first big movie.
Yes. Yeah, this was her big first one. Looking at it, her filmography started in 2002 with Goldmember. Yep. So it was not Dreamgirls was 2006. And yeah, she did some smaller roles, like she was in the Fighting Temptations and things like that. In between all those as well. But that was, from what I see here, it looks like, 2003, she kicked it off with Goldmember. Like I was saying earlier, I mean, I thought so too, but I didn't want to like stick that in stone or anything, but she really did a good job, like making a great first impression.
Yeah, she did.
Now we have to talk, because now we're on the third one. There's been a love interest in all of them. They've all been different in one way or another. Where would you scale them? Like if you had to rate them, where would you say 1, 2, 3 or 3, 2, 1? We'll end with which one you think would be the best overall.
Match,
or, just fitting, acting, just kind of overall. What do you think? And why?
Well, so I would have to say it would have to go 1, 3, 2.
Okay, that doesn't make sense to the listeners. So say which person?
So
Vanessa, where was she
last?
Okay, so she's the first movie. Okay. Yes.
Third movie would be Foxy,
Okay.
Cleopatra. And then number one choice would be um, Heather
Heather
Graham's
Graham.
character. Yes.
Okay.
Why am I
So
spacing her name? We just watched these.
her name?
Yeah.
Oh, Felicity Shagwell was her name in the
Yeah, that's
movie.
it.
I was
Yeah.
going to say
Felicity Shagwell.
you just said Heather
No.
Graham. I'm like, you know her name.
Yeah, no, I meant her character's name.
Gotcha. Yeah, Felicity Shagwell. So, you know, it's super, super tough between Heather Graham and Beyonce. Um, they did a really good job. I mean, Vanessa's definitely last. That
Yeah.
character, she was just too cold and too mom-like and that kind of stuff that we've mentioned in previous episodes. But man, I don't know. It's something like I'm stuck with myself asking this question and thinking about it. It's like Beyonce's character was really great, fit the era she was meant to be in, had really
Oh
good
yeah.
one-liners.
Yep.
You know, she knew how to, you know, take the, you know, character and run with it. But I don't think she was a great match with Austin. And so like I get kind of pulled because Heather Graham, her character, you know, Felicity, she had a really good connection. She played the role really well, written really good. So it was like, man, this is super tough to decide who I would choose from. As like as close as I could say it's a tie. If I really had to choose, I would say it would have to be Felicity because she was just I just liked her character so much more. She just owned it and she fit like a glove with Austin. And you could see them two like, you know, being spies together until they retire, you know, with kids and, you know, then see grandma and grandpa, you know,
Yeah.
powers, you know, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So that one I think just stuck with me more. But man, she is so good in this movie. She kills it. The you know when she punches the dude and yells Shazam, that's one of my favorite scenes. You know, I think that's hysterical. Yeah, she just Shazam. I mean, she just gets into it, and I feel like maybe being her first movie, she was kind of a little reserved with stuff too. I don't think they wanted to make her into like some kind of crazy sex symbol or anything coming out of Destiny's
Mm-mm.
Child and stuff. So you
Yeah.
could see that they reserved her, or she, you know, had it reserved on her own. I couldn't find anything about it or nothing to really give it, you know, solidify it. But it just felt that way because there wasn't like kissing in it. There wasn't a bunch of
Yeah.
flirting and stuff. It was just words. It was like, oh, you sexy baby, you know, and he was like, ooh, you know, there was a kiss on a cheek a couple times, you know, that it's kind
Yeah.
of like they
Yeah.
tamed it down.
Yes.
And I at first I thought maybe was that because of the movie, did they write the movie that way? Because they were trying to tame down the trilogy, you know, not go too much
Mm-hmm.
further, or if it was more because like you know it was Beyonce and they didn't want to you know make her a sex symbol or something. I'm kind of curious your thoughts on that as well. Like what do you think? Do you think it was tamer and why?
I do think it was tamer between, you know, Austin and
Foxy
Foxy.
Cleopatra.
Foxy. Um, and I think part of it is because it was probably it was her first movie. Like she wasn't at that point in time a huge like sex symbol or anything. Like she had never done any work outside of music. So I feel like that was probably a lot of it. They just wanted her to be kind of low key, a little flirty, you know, fun, but not like trying to pursue a relationship or be with Austin. So I would agree with you.
Yeah, so more that something was written in a contract or you know that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I
Yeah.
feel like too. I did try researching it, but like I said, I couldn't find anything solid. But it's worth noting, you know, that like the trilogy of Austin Powers doesn't get more outlandish and sexualized or anything like that. It gets more hilarious, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. But
Now, I have a question for you. So, do you think the movie would have been different though, like Beyonce's character, Foxy Cleopatra, if there was more of a love story? Like, do you think it would have made the movie less entertaining or less funny?
yeah, probably because the movie is not it's not meant to be like this lovey-dovey story thing. The second movie did do that a lot more than any of the other ones. I mean, the first one, you know, kind of made love interests the main point in a way, but the second one was like really the deal because he lost his mojo, you know, which is that whole
Right.
deal. But I feel like if they would have leaned more into a love story or, sexualizing Beyonce's character or anything like that, it probably would have made the movie worse, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I'm glad they didn't. I actually like the dialed back, with just more comedy, like just bringing the
Yeah.
laughs instead, because I think that's what they did. That I think they knew they found something there after the second movie really took off. They went, oh, I know we haven't lost any of our audience. We've gained so much more. Let's just go nuts now with just funny gags and just have fun with it. And I felt like that's what they did with this one. And I think if they would have gone the other direction, it probably would have put Austin in a bad light too. It would have just made him out
Yeah.
to be just this kind of like, horny
Player.
guy all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it would have made every girl that Austin interacts with, more or less just like a whore. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
just, I don't know how else, just a bad light on the overall movie,
Yeah.
because that's kind of how the world is now too, right? So like
Right.
20 years ago when this movie came out, which, was 2002, I didn't mention earlier, it was a little different, but, we shouldn't be sexualizing every woman in every movie ever. That's just not the way it should be.
Right.
And you shouldn't be making a man out that that's the only thing he cares about either. So it was really, really good, really digging deep and thinking about this movie, that they found a really great balance and they leaned heavily in the comedy while still keeping, like a sexy girl on screen who, can act and really show her talents and has become a huge star because of it. And
Oh yeah.
they didn't cover her up or crowd her with anybody else. They let her kind of own her scenes and she had fun with it, you could tell. So yeah, I'm really glad they didn't. I think it would have made a worse movie. And I think it probably would have shined a bad light on the whole trilogy, as
Right.
each movie got more and more sexual instead of, really what they should have been doing, which was, poking fun at James Bond and having a good time with it. And
Which, if you think about the James Bond movies, when those first came out, like he had a different girl every movie.
exactly.
Like, but then, after Pierce Brosnan, when it became Daniel Craig, like he had one girl through the movies. Like there were other spies that came in, but there wasn't as much of a love interest in those.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a fun little coincidence.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the newer ones, there is an overarching story with the Daniel Craig Bond that sticks with, one main love interest. So no spoilers on the Bond movies. You go watch
Yeah,
those. They're
no,
great.
go
So
watch them. They're awesome.
the newest one was a little too long, but other than that, I think I
Yeah.
could have edited that and cut out probably 20 minutes and it would have been better. So we have Michael Kane in this movie as well here. So he is Austin's dad. And he's like Sir Nigel Kane, right? Or Sir Nigel Powers.
Yes.
I mixed his real name and his fake name. So yeah, he was a really neat addition. One of our little fun facts is that the glasses that Austin wears is actually from a character that Michael Caine played in a British movie that he just stole inspiration from. So I thought that's kind of cool. They brought him into the fold and made him an actual character in the movie as well. He does a really good job. He's got some pretty funny scenes, right? Him,
Yeah.
meeting his dad and saving him, and then they get captured and everything, and Goldmember's disco club or whatever, his roller disco.
Yeah.
That was a fun scene to see with they were speaking broken English or something like that. I don't remember what they called it, and they
and they had to
subtitled
have
it.
the subtitles, and then the very last subtitle, it just a bunch of question marks.
Yeah, a bunch of question marks. And then they shat on a turtle, So, and the girls behind them have no clue what they're saying. They're just looking at each other. So before we get too far, we got to talk about. I mean, he's in the title of the movie. We got to talk about Goldmember. Even though this guy takes, center stage on this, movie title, he's not center stage 100% of the movie. He's kind of a backlog character.
Yeah.
But he's funny. He's weird, right? It's weird.
Isn't that weird?
How do you like Austin, or how do you like Mike Myers as, Goldmember character?
I liked him. It is funny that the movie is called Goldmember, and Goldmember is like an afterthought almost. Sometimes in the movie, he's not in it. He's probably in as many scenes as Fat Bastard is in the movie. So it focuses way more on Austin and Dr. Evil, which was awesome. But I did enjoy him as Goldmember. His whole little, you know, smoking a
Smoking a
pancake
pancake, pipe and a kite, bong and a blintz. Yep,
yeah,
yep.
that was really funny. Yeah,
Cigar and a waffle.
Cigar and a waffle. Yes, yeah, he was really good as Goldmember. The character overall was weird. Like he was kind of a weird one.
Yep.
Definitely obsessed with gold.
Yes.
So
Turned his member into gold.
I was to say I didn't want to ruin anything, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you know, you're watching, you're listening. Yeah, you're gonna get spoilers. It's gonna happen. But yes, he is called Goldmember because he lost his genitalia in an unfortunate smelting accident. So he has a solid gold member, as they say. Yeah, I think he was really great. Some of his lines have stuck with me for a long time. I mean, somebody mentions a waffle or a pancake or something. I mean, they come to mind almost often. Like, I mean, every breakfast that something like that is like pipe and a kite, bong and a blintz, cigar and a waffle. I mean, all those things, and they're just looking at him like, what is wrong with you? Like, he's like, huh, it seems there's no pleasing you people, you know, like he's giving them all these options and they're still like, no, I'm good. So I thought he was really great. Definitely gross with him eating his own skin, you know, because he's peeling. That's pretty sick.
That is disgusting.
But that's something with every bad guy except for Dr. Evil that has something gross about him in these movies. I mean, fat bastard, gross. I mean, just gross to even look at.
Just gross.
And then, you know, you have Goldmember eating his own skin and just being totally weird. You know, he has a skin box that he has Beyonce put, you know, stuff in, you know, it's like you're a psycho, Goldmember. And he's like, oh, get it away from me. He's trying to eat it, you know?
Yeah.
Then there's the scene later where he does it with Dr. Evil, where he pulls it off his shoulder. He's like, you're not going to put that in your mouth, are you? And then he's like, oh. And then he eats it and he's like, oh, that's a good one. That's salty. That's salty. And he's like, oh, you did. Gross, you know?
Yeah.
They're great, funny scenes. I mean, at least they are gross, but they're hilarious because of what happens because of them. If it was just a guy sitting there eating a skin out of a box, it'd be really gross, but there's always some back and forth.
It's still not as gross as Fat Bastard, so.
True, not as gross.
Yeah, no.
Fat Bastard's pretty gross.
Yeah.
He's still gross in this movie. He's back again.
Yeah, he leaves a rosebud.
Ugh. The rosebud in my diaper. Yeah. Yeah, he is a sicko, that is for sure. So I want to talk real quick on the play on the names that they do on every Austin Powers movie. So this one, we get 3 of those names, by the way. I mean, you can count 4 if you say Foxy Cleopatra in there, but there's always the girls that always have a name. You know, you had a lot of Vagina was in the first movie. And then you had Ivana Hump-a-Lot is in the second movie. Obviously, Felicity Shagwell. Then we have Beyonce's Foxy Cleopatra in this one. We also have, he meets twins in the movie. So he has a Fook Me and a Fook You, which I think is hysterical. That scene's great, by the way.
That is, yeah.
And it's real close to the beginning. And then, you know, Gwyneth Paltrow plays the love interest in the movie trailer they're shooting at the beginning for the live action movie of his life. And her name is Dixie Normus. So it's just
lots of names.
It's so great. And I just love that sort of comedy. I mean, play on words and puns and sexual innuendos and whatever. I think they're hysterical and they're done so well in this movie. And they're done with tact and taste, with comedy in mind the whole time.
Yes, they're not just like thrown out there to be thrown out there. They do serve a purpose that is hilarious.
Exactly. I have to ask, though, out of all of those names, which one is the funniest?
It has to be the twins.
The twin, Fook Me, Fook You.
Fook You. I think a lot of it is the scene.
Okay, I was going to say, are you saying that because of the scene, or are you saying that because of the names? Okay, if you had to choose, the names are
hilarious. I don't know. Dixie Normus is pretty good.
That's my number one. Yeah. Just name. I'm like, Dixie Normus. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, just name. The scene though, the Fook Me, Fook You is a fantastic scene. I absolutely love that one. Because you know it's shot really well and the comedy's just like right on pace. The timing's perfect and it really kind of shows Austin and his, you know, his attitude toward twins and, you know, everything. Yeah. It's great.
And his little notebook that he pulls out. If you're watching the movie, you have to pause it and read what he has written on the notepad. It's pretty
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah. Try and read them and just have fun with that. Make sure you've seen the other 3 movies first, and then
Yes.
or the other 2 movies, and you'll get a better laugh.
Yes.
There's a slight spoiler in the movie too, because the final thing he hasn't marked off yet is on there too, and you can read that and see what that is. You'll see it happen as the movie goes. We won't spoil that part. That's
No.
just kind of something fun you can do with the kids or, the spouse or whatever. So we've talked about Goldmember and the twins and everybody, but the roller disco scene, we got to talk about that scene. So that's where they introduce Goldmember in the movie, where Foxy sings her song, introduces him. He comes out, tells everybody he's from Holland, and he's like, "Isn't that weird?" And then they have this really like choreographed roller disco thing going on, and this is in the 70s, so you got to remember that if you haven't seen the movie yet. This takes place in the 70s, so it's real, like just.
I mean, that was the thing in the 70s was roller disco.
Yep. It's huge. I mean, it's just a vibe and party. Like everybody's on roller skates and everybody's dancing and having a good time. It was really well done. The outfit that Goldmember's wearing is just ridiculous. It's like a tank top that's gold, and then he's got gold, like
baby.
It's all gold. He's got these really short shorts on, like those roller skate shorts you would wear or see back in the 70s and 80s. And they're really short and they're solid gold. And then his skates are gold. I mean, everything's gold.
Everything's gold.
And he's very flexible, right? Goldmember's very flexible.
Very flexible. A little too flexible.
Yeah. I don't understand where that joke comes from. It's kind of cringy, when you watch him do them, I mean, they're practical effects and they just use these camera angles and certain things to do it. But at one point he's roller skating.
What the heck?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you're freaking out. At one point he's roller skating on one foot and he like lifts his other leg up to his chest, and then I think at one point he actually raises both up and he's still roller skating, because that's just a joke. Like, how is that even possible? I can't remember 100%. I think that happens though.
There's the part where he's sitting on the floor.
Yeah, then he sits down,
puts both legs up. Yeah.
Right. So that whole scene was great. The music in it was so good though. Like, I mean, it's stuck in my head right now. Let's go member. It's Goldmember. I mean, like, it just gets stuck in your head. She's like, it's gold, it's gold, it's gold. I mean, you get into it, like, and they're dancing and they're like having this choreographed moment, which it's funny, but at the same time, you're like, man, this is really good music. And Beyonce singing it all. So it obviously sounds really good and they have a really good time with it. And then obviously, you see him with kind of all of his croonies and stuff that kind of show up, which all of them are girls in gold. Like, that's just their deal.
Gold outfits.
He's kind of like Austin in that way where, he's surrounded by women all the time, but, he can't do anything about it. He's lost his, member in a smelting accident. But I guess he's just torturing himself all the time, having these girls around. But I'm like, okay, I can get down with this guy. It's good. And then they introduce the dad, and then they get into Dr. Evil and Mini-Me. And we got to go there. You guys have been listening to the last 2 episodes. We're going to talk a decent amount about Mini-Me, a decent amount about Dr. Evil. So there are so many jokes in this part of the movie, starting off with Mini-Me is on the baby Bjorn type thing on his belly, like he's carrying him around, this baby carrier, and he keeps falling asleep, right? Mini-Me is passing out on his chest, and this is where you find out, Mini-Me is just a fiend for chocolate. Like, he absolutely loves chocolate.
It's like crack.
Which he liked cookies in the last one. Like, he bit number 2. He's a biter. He's biting the cookies or whatever. But they go a lot further here with this one. Like, I think he says, look at Mini-Me on account of the chocolate. It's like freaking catnip for clowns, And he is freaking. I was all over his face like a little kid would be eating, right?
Yes, everywhere like a little kid with melted chocolate.
And then he has him on like a leash attached to the Bjorn, like you see, some kids walk around, their parents have like a little leash on the back or whatever it is around their chest. And he tries to attack Scott because that's still going on. They don't like each other.
Nope.
and he pulls him back, and he's like, "Oh, I got me a marlin," and he yanks him back, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, did I pull too hard?" He knocks him backwards or whatever. He's like, "I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you." And then they continue to go through with his giant plan, which is to pull this. He has a tractor beam now. Tractor beam. And he is going to pull this Midas 22 meteor, which is made out of solid gold, to Earth, which is why he gets Goldmember to join him, because he's going to get all the gold then after this happens. But, Dr. Evil's going to get all of his money too. So either way. But then there's the whole Preparation H joke, like they had so many different choices.
Yes. On the whole, Preparation H does feel better.
And he says, operations A through G have failed.
Yeah.
And then he's like, or preparations A through G is what he says. And then he says, so, we're calling this Preparation H. And Scott loses it because he knows what it is.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, why don't you just call it, Operation Ass Cream? Well, you want some ice cream? He's like, yeah, I would love some chocolate ass cream. He's like, maybe later.
He's totally confused. Dr. Evil is like, why does he want ice cream?
Right. Why is he talking about ice cream out of nowhere?
Yeah.
And then you have that back and forth again where, he's like, oh, Scott's like, he's like, Scotty, he's like, I don't remember what he tells him in this one. He tells him to like shush or stop or, Scotty don't. I think it was don't all the time. Scotty don't, blah, blah, blah. He's like, Scotty, what do I do here? And this is where they play on the rest of the movies where it's like, oh, wait, I got to do my part now. Oh, please don't. And he's like, shut up. And he's like, what do I say again? Oh, no. And they just go back and forth with the zip it and the, then they pull the wool over your eyes at one point because you think it's over. And then Dr. Evil goes right back into it again. He's like, Scotty, don't. And he's like, oh, come on. You're such an ass, man. That whole scene again was just great. Playing, jokes on themselves and kind of making fun of themselves from the first two movies.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And they do the whole like Mini-Me likes chocolate. Scotty don't.
Yes. Yeah. That's where it all came from, was the Scotty don't thing where it was like Mini-Me's great, Scotty's crap. So here we go.
Yep. And then it started the ball rolling.
Yep. And then you get a little bit unexpected in this movie where it ends up Mini-Me and Dr. Evil kind of get on the outs. Like Mini-Me gets upset. Dr. Evil's not treating him right. And, he leaves and he, defects and he's done. He goes and works for the Ministry of Defense now. And
we totally skipped the part where they're in jail.
Oh, yes. Yes, I did.
Like,
we got to talk about that.
Song and dance and it was hilarious. Like Dr. Evil has everyone in jail, like doing his bidding pretty much. And then Frau comes to visit and they like have this weird ass like makeout scene. And you're like, okay. And then they're like checking him and she slipped him a key and yeah.
And then that's when they do the Hard Knock Life song.
Yes.
Yep. And Mini-Me's, doing his thing and they're like, yeah, it's hysterical because they make Mini-Me into a rapper and they make Dr. Evil into a rapper and they kind of look like, I'm spacing the rapper with hung the clock around his neck, on a chain. I can't remember his name.
And that Flava Flav.
That's it. Yes. So yeah, Mini-Me kind of embraces the Flavor Flav of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And, Dr. Evil's just a gangster. Yeah.
We just had to put that part in there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good part of the movie. I totally skipped over that. I forgot that he defected after they got out of prison. So yes. But they do a big thing where when Mini-Me does defect and goes over to the Ministry of Defense, you finally see Dr. Evil connect with Scott. And you don't know that right away, but he kind of boots Mini-Me away and Mini-Me gets sick of it. And Scott now takes a seat next to Dr. Evil, and then he starts to get really evil. And the reason this all happens is because Scott finally got Dr. Evil freaking sharks with freaking laser beams attached to their freaking heads. Yep. So that was kind of the kicker. Scott starts to lose his hair. He's become evil while Dr. Evil was in jail. He started to take over the family business and that kind of stuff. So yeah, the big thing going to jail that I spaced, actually, we needed to know about that. So
Yep.
thanks Heather for bringing it up because
You're
I spaced
welcome.
it. And yeah, that makes the whole difference in where the movie goes from there, because now Scott's going to be evil and Dr. Evil's happy about that. And Mini-Me's now left to the cold.
Yep.
And once he gets over to the Ministry of Defense, we have the character that we haven't mentioned yet, but he is a mole in Dr. Evil's, whole corporation. And he plays number 3 instead of number 2. He works for number
Yep.
2. And he's got this giant mole on his face, and it's Fred Savage who plays him. And it's just this big hairy mole on his lip, and nobody can get past it, especially Austin. Austin has to get it all out of his system at one point in the movie, which is really great. And then he actually is the one who finds out that Mini-Me wants to defect from Dr. Evil, and he shows up, signs these papers. He's now working for the Ministry of Defense. And Austin, nobody else knows, only number 3 knows. And he finally leaves the room to tell Basil. He goes to tell Basil. Yeah. And after he does, then Austin walks in the room and sees Mini-Me opening this letter that he's congratulations for joining the Ministry of Defense guy. And he's holding like a knife opener, and he's holding the letter. And he's like, instantly thinks he's about to be attacked by Mini-Me, and they just get into this huge fight. And I mean, I think the first thing Austin does is punt him across the room. Like he kicks him into the mini fridge. So tell everybody about that scene, Heather. And what did you think about that scene? I think it's one of the funniest parts of the movie.
Oh yeah, it is. It's hilarious. And Austin is just beating up Mini-Me, and then he puts him in a pillowcase. And you're like, okay, this could be the end. He's obviously got him captured. He's in a pillowcase. He's not going anywhere. Oh, no. Austin is slamming him against the wall, knocking off bookshelves with Mini-Me in this pillowcase, who cannot get out of the pillowcase. It's just hilarious to watch them fight. And the whole time you see number 3 on the balcony on the phone, and you're like, why is he not turning around? All of this commotion behind him, but he's not. He's just continuing to talk oh yeah, Austin will be so excited when he finds out. And you're like, you see Mini-Me at one point is trying to get his attention, number 3's, and he can't talk.
He just keeps going, just ee!
Yeah. And then finally Mini-Me gets out of the pillowcase and is running and runs into the balcony door. And then that's when number 3 turns around, or mole. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he explains to Austin, hey, he defected. He's one of us now. And Austin was like, oh, sorry about that. We're cool. We're good.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah. Yeah, that scene's fantastic. It had our kids just rolling as well. I mean, it is a very funny scene. He beats the literal hell out of Mini-Me in that scene. It's great.
Yep. And then Mini-Me's just like, okay, cool.
Yep, it's over now. And now Mini-Me looks like Austin. He's dressed up and he has a little mini suit on, and
and the glasses,
and the wig. Yep, he's got hair now. Yep. And then one of the better jokes in the movie is Mini-Me's in a car seat in the back, and they're driving the Mini Cooper, and Foxy Cleopatra and Austin are in the front seat, and they're just kind of getting their things together. What are they going to do to take over Dr. Evil? And then Mini-Me hands Foxy Cleopatra a note that says, you're beautiful. You must be an angel. And she's like, no, but that's sweet of you, little man. And then he gives her another, are you sure you're not a clone of an angel? And she's like, yeah, no, I'm not. And he's like, well, are you sure you don't have a little clone in you? And she's like, no, I'm good. No. And then he says, flip it over. And, she flips it over and it says, well, would you like to? And Austin's just like, you horny little bugger,
yeah.
It's kind of like he embraces that side of Austin then, instantly now. He's Austin's Mini-Me.
Yep.
And, he's doing the me, you with Beyonce. And she's like, oh man, it's a funny scene. No. It's really good.
It is a funny scene.
So yeah, then once that all happens, we have just kind of the end of the movie coming up, which was it's just an Austin Powers movie. A lot of it doesn't have to make sense. It's just crazy, one thing after another.
Yep.
And you find out that Nigel Powers, Austin's dad, is actually Dr. Evil's father. And you had heard earlier in the movie that Dr. Evil His parents were killed in an explosion, and then he was therefore then adopted by, these Dutch people. And turns out that was someone trying to kill Nigel and his family, since he was a spy. And the only one who survived was Austin. He thought Dougie, which is actually Dr. Evil's real name.
Dougie.
He thought Dougie had died. And by the time he found out that he wasn't dead and he was alive, what does he say? He's like, those Dutch had made you so damn evil or something. And Dr. Evil gets all excited, because he's so evil now.
Yeah. I thought they were Belgium.
Oh, that's right. They were Belgians.
The Belgians,
yes. Yeah. The Belgians had made you so evil. Who was the Dutch then? Where did they get the Dutch from?
That was Goldmember.
That's who Nigel does not like. He says,
he doesn't like the Dutch.
Yeah. He says, what are two things he dislikes? And one of them was something I forget. And the other one was the Dutch. That's why.
Yep. The Dutch.
So then you find out that Austin and Dr. Evil are brothers. So surprise, surprise, big old twist, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't all make sense, and it doesn't have to. It's just what makes it funny. But this whole scene's going down where everybody's in love now. They're all happy. They found everybody. They're a family again. Yep. And Mini-Me's now part of everybody. And then the four of them, Austin and Dr. Evil and Nigel and Mini-Me, are all together. And Scott's there watching it in the evil lair. And he's just like, what the hell, man? He's like, you're telling me I spent all this time becoming evil and now you're going to turn good? And like, he's just instantly pissed off. Like, what the hell? This is ridiculous.
And he's missing hair.
Yeah, and his hair is like looks terrible. It's just it's almost gone. I think it's like combed over now. It looks really bad. But that whole scene was just kind of funny. They have to stop the meteor from coming into Earth now because Dr. Evil's changed his ways. So they have to turn off the whole tractor beam and stop the collision course with Earth. And they do, obviously. And, they save the world altogether this time. And then the movie kind of just ends up ending with Scott now at the helm of Dr. Evil's like whole
evil empire.
His whole empire. And now it's like, okay, are we going to get a fourth movie? So it was like, it really makes you wonder. So I did do a little research. Obviously it's been 20 years, so it'd be a time to do it, right? 20 years later. Yeah. Hey, you always pick everything on like that kind of number, don't they? Mm-hmm. So I did do a little research and I found out that the status of the movie itself was questionable. In 2016, Mike Myers had confirmed that the movie's filming arrangements was done and that the director was, slow due to obligations, with his parents and all that kind of stuff, like being a parent, I'm sorry. He had kids, and his stuff. So he kind of took a back seat for a little while, but then it does happen. Yeah. It's happened to us. So as of 2019, though, director Jay Roach said that he was still interested in making the movie, hinting that the movie may be in development, maybe in development hell, or hit some kind of a snag in funding. That's kind of what I saw mostly. But the thing about it that makes me wonder is, we mentioned it earlier in the podcast, is Dr. Evil made a comeback. He came back for a commercial in the Super Bowl. So Mike Myers just played Dr. Evil, which means he's got a feeling for, hey, let's make maybe we can make these movies again.
Yeah. Or maybe they already have started. Why else would you get the costume out? Like,
right. So it might be a way of, showing something that could happen in the future, maybe sooner than later. We really don't know 100%, but I am kind of curious on your thoughts on a fourth movie and what you would want to see from it.
That's like, part of me is like, they don't need to make a fourth movie, like just leave it with the trilogy. But then part of me is like, I would love to see Scott as the evil, like bad guy in the movie and see Dr. Evil and Austin Powers like work together. Like, how would that work? Like,
yes,
their personalities are so different. Like, that would be freaking hilarious.
Yeah, we got 3 minutes of it or something in this movie. We got to see them work together, right? And it was funny. That stuff was funny.
So I don't know. I guess I'm just where if they make it, obviously I'm gonna watch it. But if they don't make it, I wouldn't be upset about it.
Yeah. Well, there's rumors that it could come to the Peacock network, which is the streaming network that they do.
Yeah.
because it is owned by the NBC Corporation and everything, being whatever studio, I don't remember 100% right now. New Line, I think it was, got picked up by these guys. And there's a little bit of weight to it because they did make a MacGruber revival movie that is strictly on
Hmm.
Peacock. And MacGruber is a lot like this. It's just kind of more of a joke on MacGyver, from
Yeah.
the 80s.
Right.
So, and there's a lot more talk of it because there's been so many spy movies. Like we've had the Kingsman came out. There's been so many Bond movies here as of late. A new one just here real recently as well. Um,
Yeah. So they have a lot of material to spoof.
exactly. So there's plenty of things that they could take and use from all of those movies, as well as other movies that have been done. I mean, these movies just kind of make fun of pop culture in a way. Like they just take
Right.
pop culture
Yeah.
and Bond and just satire them up. You know. um, so I would love it to see that as well. Just to see Austin and Dr. Evil work together and Scott be the bad guy and have a different number two or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. My mind just reels at how many different things they could do and the potentials is there. And the thing of it is like, I think about this often. How many Police Academy movies did they make?
Oh my gosh.
Like
Like
over 10, right?
8 plus. Yeah. There's
Maybe
a
maybe
lot
they
of them.
maybe they didn't make over 10, but um they could do that with movies that are just comedies that are just making fun
Oh
of
yeah.
a
Like there's
genre.
endless amounts of stuff like that they can use. You know what I mean? Like if you're using everyday pop culture, the supply is limitless.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many of them. So they did make 8 actually.
Okay.
So they made 8 Police Academy movies. I think they can make 8 Austin Powers movies. Honestly, they could.
They could.
I know what you mean though when you say like I don't know if they really need to make more because stuff does get oversaturated and becomes unfunny. You've seen it too many times. But I guess like my brain says how much these movies improved over 3 movies and how they became funnier. And I think I already said it already, but this is my favorite of the 3 movies. I think
Hmm.
Goldmember is the best one. And I feel like they could just keep getting better with just the not having to make sense of stuff and just being able to joke about it. And I want that, honestly. Like if it's just me being selfish, I want movies that I can go to and not have to think like, oh, there's
Yeah.
some underlying meaning to this, or it's like, it has this, particular scene in it that, it didn't match with the continuity of this because this happened. And I mean, that's fun sometimes. I mean, I'll theorize with Marvel movies and other things as well to see maybe what'll happen later. But at the same time, I just kind of want to step back and watch it happen and enjoy what they're putting out
Yeah. Yeah.
and not tear it to pieces. And these movies are made to that's strictly why they're made, in my opinion. Like, just have fun. You don't need to terrorize the movie. You don't need to take it apart and put it back together.
Right.
It's meant to be stupid. It's meant to be funny. And there's not enough of these. They just
No,
don't
that's what I was
exist.
going to say. They just don't make these movies anymore. Like everything is like, I mean, you have the Marvel universe, which is kind of a don't think, like if you just sit back and enjoy, but you can at the same time theorize about stuff that's going to happen in the Marvel universe, which is fun. We love to
Yeah.
do that. But to just have a downright like comedy poking fun at everything, there haven't been any of those types of movies probably since Austin Powers, like
It feels
that have
like it.
been good. I mean, that's what it feels like. Yeah.
I can think maybe 40-Year-Old Virgin was the last one
Okay.
that came out. It's in, my top 5 comedies that came out more recently than Austin Powers. That was literally just making fun of like the world
That,
and like, sex and, just it
yeah.
picked the subject and it said, okay, let's make fun of this
Yeah.
and not be
Yeah, I
too
agree.
serious about it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't too serious about it, but there was still kind of a serious tone like to that movie a little bit, like with the whole daughter and then, him wanting to get married and taking the girl to the sex education class. Like that was
Yeah.
hilarious, but
Yeah.
there was some serious undertones to it as well. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I
It
can't think
wasn't
of
on par with Austin Powers.
no.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of the last movie that I just laughed like that. Like, yeah,
Yeah. And 20 years later, we're watching it again and,
and laughing just as hard.
Yeah, we had like a movie night. We finished Charlie and the Chocolate Factory because my
Yep.
daughter she's reading the books, so she wanted to watch the movie, and we compared the old one and the new one. So we watched both of those now. She likes the old one better. Spoiler for
Yep.
everybody out there. Good for her, because so do we.
Yep.
And then we watched the new movie Turning Red, which has huge amounts of meaning to it that you could pick one out of 100 of it that means something to somebody out there. And then we watched Goldmember. We're like, okay, we're just kind of going to run the gambit here. And actually got up this morning before recording and was talking with my son, and he was like, Dad, out of all the movies we watched yesterday, what was your favorite? And before I could even answer, he goes, mine was Goldmember. And I'm like, yeah, I would agree with you, bud. I was like, I love a good comedy. I love a good laugh. I said, I needed that. And it was great. So yeah. And he goes, yes, still that movie is so funny. He's like, it made me laugh so much. And, he's 12. So clearly, these are movies that are made for a younger audience, but I'm 41 years old. I will laugh all day long at these kinds of movies if they put them out, because I want to be
funny.
Yeah, I want to be young at heart. And I want to have fun. I want to laugh. I want to not have a terrible day every day. And, if I did have one, I have this kind of stuff to go home and watch or whatever. But I want to veg out with popcorn and laugh with my family on the couch or in the theater or whatever. So I want more of these. I hope they bring more styles of these movies back. I really, really do want a fourth one because I do enjoy Mike Myers and, everybody who writes and directs on these. I think he's just a majorly talented, person. So I want another one. I really, really do. And they ended on a cliffhanger. So maybe we'll just have a forever cliffhanger. I don't know.
Yeah,
with,
I don't know.
with Scott, doing his little dance,
you just have to make it up
fully
in your own
bald.
mind.
Yeah. They'll have to figure it out, and I'll make it on my own. But yeah, so I enjoyed it. It was really fun. Favorite scene before we get out of here. Hit me with a favorite scene. What do you got?
Oh gosh. Why do you do this? It's so hard to pick like one scene that's just my favorite.
We'll do favorite scene, and then we'll do what if. We have a what if on here that I came up with too.
I would probably have to say the whole the gangster scene in the jail.
The jail, the Hard Knock Life scene.
Yeah, that was
good.
Yeah. Or when Dr. Evil drops Mini-Me out of the baby carrier, that was pretty hilarious too.
Yeah.
Usually anything involving Dr. Evil or Mini-Me.
Yeah. We didn't talk about my favorite scene, which I meant to, but my favorite scene was the doctor's office scene where Austin is on Mini-Me's shoulders and they're like walking around the doctor's office.
Yes.
And he gives him the apple juice to drink, and then he's spitting the apple juice out as if he's pissing into this cup because he's got to have a
urine
physical
sample.
He's got to have a physical done.
It's the henchman physical day.
Yeah, and they have to go and get behind from the second movie, like when they see the shadows, they got to get behind this like curtain, and you see the shadow, and Mini-Me's hand is tapping the map, and it looks like Austin's privates because of the way they're lined up, and and then it looks like he gives birth to Mini-Me later, and all his kind of. And there's the one henchman who's watching all of it, and he's just like, "Oh my God, Jesus,
what is going on with that guy?"
And it's funny because it's actually
check that guy out.
Yeah, it's actually the same guy who watched all the other shadow stuff happen in the in the second movie with Felicity and Austin in the tent. So I love that one because there's a bunch of references to the first movie or the second movie, and then there's a bunch of like little funny shit that happens inside of it. I really enjoyed it. And when he's spitting the drink out like all over the place is great.
It is not a stream of urine at all. He is literally just like spitting it, and you're like, whoever urinates like that has some serious issues. Like they need checked out.
And then the doctor's kind of looking at him, and then like he hands it to the doctor, which is just apple juice, but then he's like tapping him on the face with his hands are all covered in it.
He's like, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah. That scene's good. Okay, so the what if I have here, I was curious about this one. I want to know what you think. What if Tom Cruise really played Austin Powers, but it wasn't a comedy?
Oh, so like what if they actually made...
Yeah, what if they did a serious like Bond, not satire, but it was Tom Cruise?
I don't think I would like that.
Wouldn't be good?
No.
Is it because it's Tom Cruise or because of how it would be?
Kind of. Don't get me wrong. I like Tom Cruise. I like a lot of the movies that he's in. Like
Mission Impossible, those are the best ones.
Yeah, those are the best ones. Like Mission Impossible, Top Gun. Like I'll admit, I enjoy those movies.
Yeah.
For a girl, I don't tend to watch girly movies.
Yep.
I have very much a different perspective on movies than most girls, but I don't know. Like, I just don't think I would like it. Like, it would be too weird.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, it is very hard to wrap my head around. Like, I'm trying to think, like, how would he act as Austin, but serious? And I'm like, but I still couldn't take it seriously. So I just
but you'd have to put your brain in the head of like, you've never seen this. Like, it's never been an Austin Powers movie ever made. Like, instead of James Bond, it's just Austin Powers. And
but I guess my question is like, is there still like the innuendos, but just spoken more seriously?
No, like they would exist, but they would exist in like not comedy, but just kind of like, I want to say cringy. Like the first thing I came to mind to me was thinking cringy? Is like he's trying to act serious, and make it through. I mean, that's what he did in the trailer at the beginning, like when he was not. Yeah, that was a whole movie. If the first 5 minutes of this movie was a movie, what if?
I would get up and leave, probably. Like, no.
Yeah.
No.
I just thought it was funny that they chose him to play Austin Powers and the way he played it, because he's at the very beginning, it's Austin is always bubbly and fun and everything, that's his character.
Yeah.
And when Tom Cruise says to Dixie Normus, where he's like, shall we shag now or shall we shag later? Like, I mean, he just says it like straight face, like he does
deadpan.
Yeah, deadpan. And he does not have any accent or nothing like that. It's just, so Missy Normus, should we shag now or shag later? And then, she says something and he's like, even when he pulls the glasses off for the first time, you see it's him and he turns around, looks at the camera and he's like, yeah, baby. Like it's just so straight.
No, thank you. I'll pass on that.
It's a solid what if to think about. It'd be like,
solid what if.
It'd be like in between, it'd be a cringy Jack Reacher or something. You know what I mean? Like when he played Jack Reacher.
Yeah.
Which is a great movie.
It is a great movie.
But the first 5 minutes of this movie is just meant to be hilarious. So at the same time, it'd be cringy. It might actually be really funny in like a Naked Gun kind of way.
But you only know it's funny because it's at the beginning of an Austin Powers movie. Like if they legit put that movie out as a serious, like this is an Austin Powers movie and this is how it is. No, thank you.
Well, it'd be like he's too dumb to know that what he's saying is cringy and bad. Like Leslie Nielsen played in Naked Gun.
Don't Call Me Shirley. Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, that's
Naked
Airplane.
Gun movies, I know, but the Naked Gun movies are funny. Like,
yeah, and they're funny on the level of they're on that level of like he doesn't know he's a moron. Like he thinks he's doing the right thing. So maybe right. You would probably sit through it at that point, but at the end of the movie, you'd be like, I don't know. Like, did I like it or not like it? That's where I lean on the what if. Like I lean into the middle of like, man, that could have been better. Maybe not, because I thought it was a fun what if, but Tom Cruise, I don't think Tom Cruise can do the type of comedy that you would want to see. And I don't think he can do the dumb, but supposed to be dumb kind of character. Like, doesn't know he's dumb, but he is dumb. Like and he probably doesn't want to, honestly, either, but
probably not.
It was really shocking to see him do this back in 2002, to be honest with you. So anyway, it was a fun what if. Had to throw it in there. I was curious.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Clearly, this has been a loud thumbs up. We love the Austin Powers trilogy. Want more. And Goldmember, best in the trilogy for you too, right, Heather?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So good stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these. We had fun doing them, and we'll have to pick another trilogy at some point, whether it might be comedy or not. We'll have to talk about it. We've been wanting to do John Wick, so we'll see.
Yeah, we have.
And that's going to be more than a trilogy, but still, that's fine.
Oh yeah.
As far as what we've been watching, because this is we live in the same house, we watch together.
We do watch together.
Peacemaker. That's the one I can say.
God.
We started Peacemaker finally. I think we're halfway through the season, and the intro to that show is so freaking weird. But
you can't not watch it.
That's the thing. Like I watched it the first time, and then I skipped it for the second episode, and then I was like, I'm just gonna watch it again. And then I've watched it every time. Like I don't skip the intro now. Like it's
usually we skip the intros on all the shows. Like you're like, let's just get to the show. But this one, for some reason, neither one of us, and it's every time it's on, we're like watching it. Like it's just the weirdest thing, but it is hilarious.
We should just record ourselves doing the dance one time.
We get the kids in on it.
Yeah. It's just it's
I mean, just leave it to James Gunn to come up with like this quirky, funny, weird musical like beginning.
And not to mention to take a guy, and if you haven't seen, I'm not going to spoil Suicide Squad for you, but go back to one of our first movie reels. We did talk about it. A character that you just don't like, and they've made him into a character you kind of like now. Like it's really weird.
Like, feel for him. You're like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
What the hell is going on?
Best, as far as I'm concerned, it's the best DC show that's been out. Period. As far as TV shows go, it's really good. It's well worth watching. It keeps me interested, and that's not easy to do, honestly, with shows like these. I'd rather just watch the movie sometimes. But this to me was even better than like the Hawkeye series. Like I know you love the Hawkeye series probably more than this one. Yeah. But I think this is great. The comedy's there. This is like straight up just stupid comedy. Like the way that they joke around and talk to each other and give each other shit. And he calls one guy in the show Dye Beard pretty much the whole time because he dyes his beard.
Dye beard.
So yeah, it's just good stuff like that. It's on HBO Max. It's definitely worth checking out. I think it's 10 episodes long, and they're supposed to be doing another season of it as well. But John Cena kills it as that character. I've always known he's been a funny dude. I've liked him since wrestling. So even way back with him in The Rock and things like that were going on. So worth watching. Peacemaker, HBO, good stuff.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, this has been a long one. I think we doubled our last episode's timing, but that's okay. It was fun.
It was fun.
Thanks again for coming on and doing this. It was a good time.
Of course.
We are out of here for this one. We'll be back sometime. Don't know who the guest will be. Might be Heather, might be somebody else. We keep the chair rotating. So until next time, everybody out there, stay loud.